if the water coming out of your faucet is not safe to drink, or if in a real catastrophic scenario everything shuts down and there is no water coming out of your faucet, you got to have some water in your house. And the general guidelines are 1 to 2 gallons per person per day for cleaning, cooking, and hygiene. That's a lot of water. I have 7 people in my family. We can't possibly store that much water. I mean, we probably could if we just kept buying barrels and that kind of thing, but not a bad idea. I have a 4,500 gallon swimming pool in the backyard right now. So one of the first things I tell people when they say they don't have any water, go this week, take $20, and you could buy 41 gallon jugs of water at Market Basket. Throw them on the shelf in the basement. Now, stamped right on the bottle, it says it's at least a year. Well, if it's a year, then it's more than that. You may not drink it right out of the container, but all this talk about recycling your water and swapping, why? You have water filters in purification. It's not, if it's sealed in the dark and there's no algae growing in it and it was clean when it went in there and the container was sterile when it went in there, then it's not going to go bad. It might not taste fresh, but certainly if you have some tablets or you have some bleach or you have some water filtration or you can boil it and you can aerate it, then it's fine. So get yourself 20 gallons of water this week and put it on the shelf in the basement. Put it under the bed. Save your 2-liter soda bottles. Wash them out really good with soap, some bleach, fill it with tap water, seal it, write the date on it, and stick it under your bed. Stick it in the closet. I mean, it's not going to take much to have 20, 30, 40, 50, or even 100 gallons of water in your house. Now, milk jugs are generally not recommended. That kind of plastic is not the best for long-term storage. And certainly, I think it's very hard to get the milk sugars and things out of the plastic. So once you've got some water set aside, I'm lucky where I live in my neighborhood. I've got a stream and a swamp right across the street, and then there's a swamp back behind us. And if there is water, then you can make it safe to drink. And if you dig a hole and it fills up with water, you just grab yourself a 5-gallon bucket. I would look at this in multiple stages. The first thing I would do is get a couple of buckets and let them sit, and let most of the silt settle out. And then you can either pour off or siphon off the cleanest water. Throw the bleach in there, which the ratio is 8 drops of Clorox bleach per gallon. That will help disinfect it. And then you could even run it through a filter if you wanted to be extra sure, because you certainly can't afford to get sick in a grid down scenario. Bleach shelf life, I mean, it's a pretty cheap thing to throw on the shelf. Just plain old Clorox bleach. It's only going to be at full potency for anywhere from, you can read on the internet, anywhere from 3 months to 1.5 years or 2 years. But unless you've got chlorine test strips and know exactly what the parts per million are in the water that you're disinfecting, you're kind of taking a little bit of a gamble. I've got handouts here. There's 10 of them.
One quick thing on bleach. Yep. It will break down the plastic containers. They sell them in now. So if you're planning on using that stuff for long term, I would think about trying to get a glass jug if you can. I know that's kind of weird to look for a gallon-sized glass jug these days, but they're out there. So, when it starts breaking down the plastics, you're going to have to start dealing with that stuff in your water as well. Yep. You may not want to add that in there.
Yep. Alternative to bleach is to make your own bleach using pool shock. And there's lots of recipes on the internet. The general recipe that you can get from the EPA's website and from World Health Organization. Pool shock is somewhere around $2 to $3 per pound, and 1 pound of pool shock will disinfect 10,000 gallons of water. The recipe that is generally accepted is a heaping teaspoon of 78% pool shock, so it's 78% active chlorine. Most of the stuff you find at like the discount stores, Walmart and stuff, is around 50 to 60%. So if you can find the 70 or 80%, that will work better. But a heaping half teaspoon per gallon of water makes bleach. So if you have a bleach bottle, or like Rapier said, if you have a decent glass bottle to mix that in, you obviously should wear goggles and gloves. That stuff is nasty. If you've ever poured pool shock in your pool and you get the little bit of dust up in your nose, it's horrendous. So you definitely don't want to expose yourself to that, especially in a grid down situation where you can't get medical treatment, medical care. But you can make your own bleach, and then you use 8 drops of that liquid that you just made to purify a gallon of water. So I would certainly have some buckets on hand if you've got a water source near your house. If you've got water that's been in the barrels in your garage for 4 or 5 years, I would not drink it coming right out of the barrel. I would treat it or filter it first just to be safe, maybe even both. But it doesn't take a lot, like I said, to immediately get some emergency water stored. Now, alternatively, to keep in your car, or if you're camping or hiking, or just to have this stuff on hand, this is somewhere around $6 or $7, I think, at Walmart. It's made by Coleman. It's a 2-part tablet kit, and it's 1 or 2 of these, I forget, per quart. After 30 minutes, it's an iodine-based product. After 30 minutes, you drop one of these in, and it helps get rid of the iodine taste and the color. 30 minutes of this will kill virtually anything in there, and then this makes the water taste better. So have some of these on hand.
I've got a stupid question. If you're going to do both the chlorine and the filter, does it make sense to do one before the other? Would you have a long-term effect on the filter?
Well, when you want to purify water, there's 2 steps. The filter is to get rid of all the junk that's floating in there. But it's not going to eliminate any of the live viruses or anything like that, because the filters are only so dense. I mean, even the best filters are only like 0.1 or 0.2 microns. That's still large enough for letting biological material to get through, because it's microscopic at that point. What you want to do after that is boiling it, or adding chemicals to it, or purifying it some other way, basically neutralize all that stuff. So that's your second step, is to basically kill what's left over in the water. The filtering of the junk really is there to just make it palatable for you. I mean, let's face it, nobody wants to drink a milkshake when it's water, but that helps alleviate getting that sludge out of the water, if you will. The one caveat on that stuff is that it will not filter out chemicals. So if you're downstream from agriculture or something like that, you're probably going to have a lot of fertilizer and residues and things in the water. They're not going to be a catch-all for that type of stuff. You're probably going to want to go upstream, get away from those farms and things like that.
That's why I was saying, Mark, I personally would grab the water out of the swamp and let it settle, so that I'm not sucking a bunch of silt in there. But you could run that through some cheesecloth or coffee filters, try to remove, or t-shirt, jeans, whatever, to try to remove as much of that, because the less of that crap that goes in these filters, the longer these are going to last, obviously. But I would even throw the bleach in there right when I took it out of the thing. Now, they say if the water is really murky, you should use double the amount of bleach or chlorine that you're mixing up. The chlorine, you don't want to go crazy, but the 1 to 2 times the amount of chlorine will dissipate pretty quickly in the sun. Also, by aeration and pouring it back and forth between buckets will help get rid of some of that chlorine taste, or to actually make the water taste a little fresher if it's been sitting for a long time. This is a pretty cool product. It's just something else to have. This is anywhere from 15 to 20 bucks. It's a filtration straw. You can dip it right in the toilet. You can dip it right in the stream. Just drink right from the bucket. This is another type of filter. This is made by Sawyer. This is a 0.1 micron, like he was referring to. This is only about $15 or $18 at Walmart. It's cool because it does a couple of things. It will screw right on top of one of these bottles. So you could fill this up with water from the source, screw this right on top, basically have a straw or squeeze it. It also works in line with any of those Camelback or hydration. This does 0.1 microns, and it says it's good for up to 100,000 gallons. That's a lot of water. And it also comes with a little plunger, so you can back pressure, you can back flush it if it starts to get bugged. They do make a big one that's made to go between a couple of buckets or in line, but it's in the $200 range, $150 range, and it does 1 million gallons, and it's 0.1 or 0.2. The thing about these and the bigger Sawyers, they're slower, right? They generally work with gravity. So if you have a couple of buckets, you can actually put something like this in line between the 2 buckets. So you just fill the dirty water at the top, and you've got this plumbed in the bottom in the line, and it drips into the clean bucket. They also make some for around $30 or $40 that are little ceramic things, and they come with a little kit, and you just drill a hole in the bottom of the bucket, and you screw that ceramic element into the bottom of the bucket. You cut a hole in the lid of the bucket that you set it on, and you just pour the water in. It kind of works like one of those Berkeys that you have sitting on your counter, but it works in a bucket. Those can be cleaned. Most of those ceramic ones they're about the same, 13,000, 14,000 gallons.
Yeah, they're pretty close to the same.
Yeah.
One caveat on those is once you get them wet, you got to dry them out really well. I had a friend of mine decide he was going to build one of those setups for 2 buckets and test it out, and then he didn't really take a low pressure air compressor and hook it up to the stone and actually dry it properly. Went down there 2 weeks later to check on it. It's all covered in mold. Now it's basically unusable because you don't want to filter any mold in your water. So you just got to be careful with those.
Yeah, this is a pretty cool product. This is from Katadyn. They make a whole bunch of different ones. I've got one that I've had for probably almost 30 years. It's a small hiker, probably only about this tall, and I've probably thousands of gallons. Well, maybe not that much, but all the times hiking up in the mountains, just drinking right out of the streams with the filter. Never gotten sick, and I don't even think the technology is as good as it is in these. This is more like the $150, $160 range. That's my cost. I think I can sell it for like 160, 165 bucks. This goes for closer to 200, I think, retail. This isn't the big, the next step up is the one that's all, this is called the Combi. The next one up is called the Pocket, I think, and it's all metal. The filtration is the same, and this does 13,000 gallons of water. So 13,000 gallons of water is enough water for 10 people for 4 years. So there's a lot of water. And this is fast. This has an intake and an outtake, and you just pump it, and it works pretty fast. So pretty quick and not a bad thing to have some of those. But obviously short term, some bleach, some pool shock, 10, 15, 20 gallons of water from Walmart, from Market Basket, whatever, and you got a pretty good start on that. If you don't have these methods and you need to boil, you need to cook water, or you need to cook food, or you need to boil water for food or for purifying for drinking, you obviously got to have a way to make some fire, and you need a container. Something like this is only, I don't know, $15 at Walmart or something like this. Comes with a little cup, 2 cups, and this can sit right on top of a stove. This is a stainless steel version. This is, I think, it's made by Emberlit. This is about $40, I think. They make a titanium one that weighs half as much of this. This is, I don't know, a pound, but it folds up totally flat. I'll show you, it fits right in here. This works like a little mini rocket stove, and it boils water pretty quickly, so pretty handy to have one of these. I mentioned during the big ice storm, we were cooking on our little Coleman stove in the garage with the door open, and we bought a hose adapter. So I think you probably all know the little green Coleman stoves I'm talking about. They have a little burner. And we bought an adapter so that we could plug our 20-pound propane tanks into that. So you don't have to use those little green canisters. And that's a pretty handy thing to have. So just about everybody has a gas grill and some propane tanks. So if you pick up one of those adapters, and for about 20 bucks, you can get one of those stoves at Walmart, and it works pretty well, boils water quickly. We had a lot of fun camping in the house during that storm. So this will just fold up, goes right in here. I just ordered another one from either Amazon or Sportsman's Guide that's very similar to this. It's got a little tray that sticks out so you can feed the wood in there. It weighs 2.5 pounds, folds flat, and it was only $10. So I was hoping to have that so I could show you that. So that's a good alternative to this. This is also a rocket stove. This is the most ingenious product I've seen. You've watched the demos on YouTube for the Kelly kettle. They have a whole bunch of different versions. This is the stainless steel camp, I don't know what it says on there. Say camp, base camp version. They have one here. This is called the Trekker. No, this is the Scout. So the Scout's around 80 bucks. This was $109. It comes with all these other accessories. It comes with these little pots and little things, little burners to go on top. But what this is a double-lined thing. I think this holds 2 liters of water. And you basically just take this out, pour the water in here, and it's inside this bladder. So the fire is created in the bottom. Throw little twigs and sticks in here, and you feed stuff through here. So it's a rocket stove, basically. And the flames come up out of here, and this boils water in about 8 minutes. It's crazy. And they make this little stand on the top, so you actually could be heating up some more water on top or cooking food or whatever while you're doing it.
How far does the bladder go?
Right to the bottom. It's tapered.
Entire wall.
Yep. So it holds, I forget what this one holds, 1 or 2 liters. 1.5 liters. This is amazing. Everybody's on a budget. Everybody's got money issues and challenges, and nobody has just, unlimited disposable income. You don't have to have, 6 months worth of food and water in your house tomorrow, but on 10, 15, 20 bucks a week, and I don't care how much money you're making, you can do 20 bucks a week. You blow that at frickin' Dunkin' Donuts. Purification, filtration, lots of different methods to heat water if your stove isn't working. One of the other things I picked up this year was this little it's Alaskan herder wood stove, and it's got it folds down pretty flat. It's a solid box, but it's got legs that fold out. You can actually stick that right in your fireplace and just get the little smokestack to come up to the top. It's got little water tanks that go on the sides. I mean, you could cook on that and heat your house at the same time. Pretty cool. So you got to have a way to boil water, filtration, purification, way to make water hot for cooking. Grab one of these handouts if you want some information from the World Health Organization and the EPA. It's got all the information about boiling and filtration and purification and the recipes to make the make bleach using calcium hypochlorite. It's not sodium hypochlorite, it's calcium hypochlorite. And then one other thing in the back that's pretty interesting. This is from the World Health Organization. And in areas where they don't have a lot of these filtration and purification methods, the alternative to that is using UV light from the sun. And you actually can take 2-liter bottles, and as long as they're clean and disinfected, you fill them about 2/3 of the way up, put the cap on, shake it up really good to aerate it, and then fill it all the way up, top it off, put the cap on, and 6 hours in full direct sun. They recommend in third world countries, they have a lot of those corrugated metal roofs. They line their roofs. They fill up the roof slats. Yeah, yep. So 6 hours in full sun, and then you drink right out of the bottle, and it's supposed to be safe to drink. So in a pinch, 6 hours in the sun, I would say it's a combination of heat and UV light, but this is basically a giant version of something along the lines of this. Amazing the fire that comes out of this thing. This is awesome for camping, or if you needed to boil water on a larger scale, or food for a family.
So, my wife got me this for our Christmas actually. It's called a Stove Tech, and so if you go online to stovetech.com or just Google it. I also YouTubed it. There's a bunch of people that go on and show you how it works and whatnot. And it's cast iron at the top, and basically you just take this little stand, set it in front, and set your sticks, and just feed it right in there once you get your fire going. And the thing roars. I mean, really, you start off by putting sticks, just shoving the sticks in the top.
It looks like a jet engine coming out of the top when it's roaring, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
How much was it, Dan?
It was, I think, $250. It has this little skirt, and there's some technology behind it that, you set the skirt on there. There's some screws on the side here. You set it down. The pot goes on top of it and inside once you get it all in there. And it holds the air, burns, boils up this whole entire pot really quickly, like in 15 minutes. And it's got, I don't know if you can see it in there, but there's like an inner layer inside this pot that captures all the heat and allows it to boil a little quicker. So, what's that?
Heat from the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bottom and the side, and that skirt helps it go a little quicker, I guess.
Does everybody know what a rocket stove is here? Everybody heard that term before? All right, if you haven't, let me just talk about that for 2 seconds, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a type of stove design. It's not really a brand name or anything like that. And what's great about them is they're very efficient with heat. So you basically have 2 chambers. One is for air, and one is for sticks that you feed in. And unlike a traditional fire where you're going to toss a lot of wood in there to keep it going and you're burning it all at once, with a rocket stove, you're only burning the tips at a little bit at a time. So you're just taking kindling and basically pushing it in a little bit over time. Now what's neat about this design is, versus a traditional stove, is, for one thing, it's designed for basically using very little sticks and very little wood. But this inside chamber here is all insulated with something called vermiculite, which is different types of materials. But basically you're focusing all the heat inside up this chamber and then super insulating it around the side. So there is no heat focus wasted at all where your pots sit on top. So this can be used for just yard trash if you really wanted to, in an emergency, go find some sticks in the yard. Doesn't need to be any kind of hardwoods or anything like that, even though they burn longer and better. But you can use a very small amount of wood and get a really decent amount of flame focused on your pot. Saves you a lot more time boiling water and everything else, using less resources to get there.
And then I don't know if you guys have heard of this. This is a product called BioLite.
There's this device that connects right onto it. This here is a thermometer, and there's a little fan right here, and basically the heat captures on this plate from inside the cylinder here, and charges up the battery, which makes the fan go. And so it's different from you know, this one here where it's just straight flame coming up, it makes a cylindrical flame, you know, just come flying out of this thing like it's a rocket. And what happens is this thing ends up charging up so much that they have given another charger so you can charge up whatever it is that you need charging that uses a USB.
While you're cooking.
Yeah, so
Boiling water or cooking and you're charging
charge up your phone
USB.
or whatever it is you need charging. In a grid down situation, I don't know how useful that would be.
Do they make little USB battery chargers?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there you go. Charge up AA batteries or something.
Yeah, very true. And it's simple to use, and it compacts pretty good too, because you know you can just slide right in here and put it in a bag. These all fold in, so it's pretty compact. It's about the size of a bottle, like a water bottle you normally have.
Price point on that is like $150.
Yeah, about that. And you know, you just set this on here, and you can hear it. Once it gets going, it's just this rocket flame coming out of this thing. It's really great. And you just set this thing on top here, and you can set your you know, whatever on top to heat it. Like one of these Stanley ones work really good, and just boils it really fast, like a few minutes. Gets it going really nice. Any questions on the BioLite?
I don't have a question, but a comment too. It's like, you know, with the USB rechargeable flashlights, I was in I'm an asthmatic. I was in CVS and I found a portable USB powered humidifier. So there's all kinds of stuff once you have a USB connection and you can charge things via USB. It opens up a lot of possibilities. A lot of things that run on USB charge USB. So you got to kind of think outside the box and what can you pair that with?
I'm going to actually bag up a bunch of rice and beans, show you how I've been doing that. Kind of give you an idea of the kind of stuff that we've been buying, the amount of money that it costs to do some of this stuff, and you can very quickly have a lot of extra food in your house without going crazy buying this stuff or buying long-term stuff like this. You can do a lot on your own. So one of the first recommendations, obviously, is buy more of what you use. So we eat a lot of this kind of stuff. My kids will eat all this stuff, and this is dirt cheap. My wife gets this stuff. Sometimes it's like, I think this says, it was 5 for $5. So this was $1. These are usually less than $1. And when they have these on sale, my wife buys as many as they let her. She'll be at the grocery store and she'll see that there's a special on this or pasta. I mean, if you saw my basement, the shelves in the basement, we look like a grocery store with this kind of stuff. When the pasta sauce is on sale, when the pasta's on sale, when this stuff's on sale, she just buys it whether we need it or not. And she writes dates. I don't think there's dates on these, but she writes dates on a lot of them. But again, these right from the store, these are generally a year or 2 years. So we're easily going to use this stuff because she's constantly rotating. When the soups go on sale, she buys more of the kind she likes. You can go to Walmart or Sam's Club or BJ's and you can buy like one of the big cases of ramen noodles for like $3. You can get like, I don't know, sometimes they have like 36 packages of ramen noodles for $3, $4, $5. Throw some of that stuff on the shelf. That stuff's going to last practically indefinitely. And it's cheap insurance to have that kind of stuff on the shelf. But short term, definitely, first thing you do, just buy a bunch of stuff that you use. This kind of stuff goes a long way. And if you had some canned chicken, some canned ham, some Spam, some cans of tuna, you can survive on this stuff with that pretty regularly. And like I said, pretty readily. And the tuna and the chicken and all that stuff, I mean, what do they say? An unopened can of food starts to lose nutritional value.
Yeah.
But
Those dates they put on there are for the taste palate. After that point, the taste palate is beginning to degrade. It's not necessarily that the food goes bad, it's just that it doesn't taste as fresh. So realistically, if you keep a can at room temperature in a cool, dark place, it could be good for 30 years. So there's no need to throw that stuff out.
Just a quick point, you mentioned the integrity of the can is really important. I've been tempted, you know, grocery stores too, like the dented cans, the half off and stuff like that. Obviously, that's the kind of thing you probably want to avoid.
Yeah,
even though the price is good, the integrity of the can is obviously going to be super important.
If it's pet food for your pet, buy the empty cans.
Yeah.
I wouldn't buy them for you.
Yeah.
Well, put it that way.
So even if you buy some stuff that you say, oh, I'm not going to eat that, but damn, that's cheap. I'll buy 10 cans of that, baked beans, whatever it is. It's kind of like when you guys have been camping. I've been on week-long hikes, and we mix up stuff with whatever we have left over, and we're like, I am going to make this when I get home. This was good. And then you get home, and you're like, what the hell? So step one, go buy a bunch of stuff that you generally use anyway. Buy the extra cans, buy the extra pasta, buy the extra pasta sauce, buy a bunch of these little noodle sides. Even if you don't really like them or eat them now, this will taste pretty damn good if you haven't had anything decent to eat. Yeah, my kids all eat all this stuff anyway. And this stuff is quick and easy and cheap. Rice-a-roni, all that stuff, really easy to cook, especially by any of these methods that we're talking about. And all of those soups, the canned soups and all, I mean, all you gotta do is heat them up. You don't even have to add water to any of them. So a lot of options there. Pick up a lot of extra cans. You can buy the canned beans, like kidney beans. They're already cooked. So you just open them and heat them up or eat them cold. A lot of energy is spent cooking dried beans. You've got to, especially if they're more than several years old, 5, 10, 15 years old, depending on how you have them packaged, you've got to rehydrate them, and you definitely want to try to rehydrate them, soak them overnight. I've even read that you add in, I think it's like a tablespoon of baking soda in the water, half a tablespoon or something, will help soften them up and make them a little more palatable. But even if, let's say, 25 years down the road, I am cutting this bag of beans open and they're hard, just take like a mortar and pestle, grind them up, and make little pancakes and fry them like refried bean cakes, or mix them into bread, or just mix it in your pasta sauce. You're going to get all the value out of it, even though you can't eat them as beans. This is $1's worth of beans, and I don't know what this bag, 5 or 10 cents worth of material, because I buy the roll that you cut custom length. If you've got one of these food saver things, this is one of the fancier models. My dad got me this one after the big fiasco with the snowstorm that we were talking about in October. He gave me a giant bin full of prepper stuff, and this was one of the things he got us. So you can pick up these bags. You can get custom ones, or you get the like pre-cut, or you get just the roll. So the next phase, once you've got stuff that you're going to use, so I mean, you could very quickly get a week or two's worth of food or more on your shelf, just hitting up the dollar aisles at Shaw's, picking up pasta and beans and canned fruit and all that kind of stuff. Start picking up some of this stuff, and even if you don't do anything with it right away, just buy it. This was, I want to say this was like $2.50 at Shaw's, and this is 4 pounds of beans. It's been sitting in my basement for probably 6 months, and I haven't done anything with it yet. I don't know if there's a used suggested date on the bag, but I'm going to package up some of this tonight, alternative to this. I'm going to show you how to do that with one of those Mylar bags and an iron and a couple of oxygen absorbers if you don't want to spend the money on something like this, or if you don't have access to one. So some of the other things that I've done, sort of the do-it-yourself long-term storage, as many beans as you can buy. This is pretty cheap food. And I think this bag is 16 servings of a couple hundred calories per serving. That's a lot of food for $1, especially if you had some canned chicken, or you mixed in some rice. I mean, you've got a pretty decent meal there with some good nutrition.
Got a piece of the label in there?
Yeah, exactly. So I know I have the sort of the cooking recommendations and the serving information and what kind of beans it was. So these were black beans. Yeah, I tried both ways. I took these out of the bag. And then I realized that if I just snipped a bunch of holes in the leading edge of the bag, it would suck the air out pretty well.
Do you have the vacuum attachment for your food saver?
I would like to get it because you can do stuff in jars.
Yeah,
mason
so
jars.
if you have a food saver and yours has a vacuum hose attachment, you can buy separately vacuum attachments that fit on the top of canning jars or old pasta jars, and it'll suck the air out of them and vacuum seal them, so that gives you another option. If you have a lot of canning jars left over, if you pick up canning jars from the yard sale, they might not be great to can in, but they're definitely good to vacuum seal your food in. It allows you, for me, I bought 50 pounds of rice and put it in quart jars so that I can take it off the shelf and use the little bit that I need. And I can reuse that jar and that lid over and over and over again. So that's one really good thing that you can do with your food saver, other than just buying the bags. I use the bags as well for different things. but you can store a lot of food in a reusable container.
One of my buddies has been dehydrating his own meats and stuff and throwing them in one of these bags with oxygen absorbers.
The other thing about dehydrating is you can actually cook your food and then dehydrate it. So when I go camping, you can open up a can of cooked beans, dehydrate them, and then rehydrate them with hot water. You don't even have to take. So you can take food that's already cooked. You can cook it yourself or buy it already cooked, and then you can dehydrate it and rehydrate it so that the only water you're using at that time is what you're going to need to rehydrate. And it's also a lot lighter.
Breakfast. I went and bought, I think at BJ's, these giant, like 40 packs of oatmeal for $10 or something. And I just mixed them up and threw them in here. So these have been sitting there for a year. Right out of the box, it says it's good for like 2 years. So I made a little nick in each one of these bags when I put it in there. So it sucked most of the air out of those bags as well. I would be willing to bet this is still going to be perfectly fine in 5 or 10 years. I mean, it's no question. So there's some breakfast. I do not love drinking plain water all the time, so I went and bought a bunch of tea bags at Walmart that are $1 per 100, and I threw a bunch of them in here. So here's some tea bags. There's 80 tea bags in this little container right here. Vitamin C drops from CVS. This is $2 or $3 worth of vitamin C drops, 160 vitamin C drops. Just in the package from CVS, I would guess they probably last a long time, but they tend to get a little bit gummy after a while. I don't know if the vitamins degrade in them, but I don't think they're going to be any fresher than they are coming out of here in 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years. One of the next things we did, through Emergency Essentials, if you guys aren't aware of this company, this is a pretty great company to buy some of the long-term stuff from. They sell these number 10 cans with just about anything you can think of, whether it's fruit or vegetables or egg powder or seasonings or spices or even these pre-cooked meals like this, these freeze-dried beef stew. You can get freeze-dried beef stew in here and it'll have like 40 servings in here, and you take a little, some of them even come with the measuring cups. These, as are sealed in these cans, they say this is a 25-year product right here. This is going to sit on your shelf in a cool, dark place. It's all freeze-dried. They do sell dehydrated stuff too, but the freeze-dried stuff is just super lightweight, and we've been trying to buy a mix of everything, whether it's egg powder or it's beef stew. This was at Walmart for $4 or $5. These are great for camping. My kids love these things. I mean, they would eat them at home if I would spend the money on them. But they can't wait when we go camping because they get to have these and you eat them right out of the bag. It's pricey, but it's not bad to have a few of them on the shelf because all you got to do is boil some water and you get a really quick, easy meal. These, same thing. Once you open this can, you can use those jars and you can reseal them in the jars, or you could pour these off into little bags if you wanted to open and not eat all of it at once. But unopened, they say 25 years. So if it's 25 years, it's 30 years. I mean, you're never going to convince me that miraculously 25 years in, the stuff starts to go bad. I don't know. I think this is probably in the neighborhood of like $10. So you just got to kind of balance. You know, once you do a lot of the stuff that you've got that you're going to eat every day, then the next step is, all right, let's get some longer term stuff. You know, maybe you put some beans away. Maybe you start getting some long-term fruit. We bought big giant boxes of Bisquick and mashed potatoes at BJ's. And then I bought butter powder and egg powder and peanut butter powder and a whole bunch of different stuff. But what we did is we made up mashed potatoes. So this is potato flakes, like Idahoan potato flakes or whatever the big giant thing was at BJ's. And you need milk and butter. So we added that stuff in here. So this is ready to just add 4 cups of water and you get instant potatoes. It already has the milk and the butter and stuff in there. So this is solid. I mean, you're never going to convince me that this isn't going to last 5, 10 years plus, as long as these seals stay. The only bags that I've had any issues with are when I've taken minute rice. They poke through, and you'll get little holes, and you'll see the seal break. So then I just leave it in the bag, and I double bag it. I put it in another bag, and then it's fine. I thought it was a good idea to leave them in the bag and give an extra layer of protection. So that's what I started doing there. This is pancakes. So we already got the milk in here. This is Bisquick. You just add a cup of water, and this will make 14 pancakes. Good call. I don't know. We don't have any syrup. If you want just some eggs, yeah, you can get giant buckets of honey that they say. I mean, yeah, exactly. It'll outlive most of us. This is just eggs. This is egg powder. So you want some scrambled eggs? Just mix this up with water. My kids have been eating some of this stuff we've tried, and we were drinking the powdered milk. So just go buy the Carnation. What do they call it? It's powdered milk, freeze-dried milk. It was just the milk. And I was shocked how good it tasted. My kids are like, we got to try that. So we just mixed it up with cold water, and it tasted like milk pretty much right out of the fridge. It tasted like whole milk, extra calories and stuff in there. But so a really just a little bit of this at a time, and you don't even, like I said, you don't even have to package it up. I mean, these beans will be fine sitting on your shelf for 2 or 3 years before you do anything with them. If you just go on emergencyessentials.com, you can get them to send you a catalog, and I just wait till the stuff goes on sale. They have sales every month, but you get egg powder. Here's beef broth, baking cocoa, black pepper, cinnamon, garlic salt, garlic powder, milk, cheese, all different kinds of freeze-dried cheese, any kind of vegetables you can think of. Big giant buckets of oats and rice and beans and that kind of stuff. I said, you know what, I can do that on my own, and I'm going to do it no different than they do. I mean, they're probably using, what do they use, argon, or who knows what they put in those. Yeah, so I have oxygen absorbers I'm going to show you. They probably do it in a more of a controlled environment, but I can do it myself for less than half the price that it costs you out of here. In addition to this kind of stuff, I have invested in some of these. These are from Costco or BJ's. And this is a 30-day bucket. It's 30 days for one person, 330 servings of food in here, and it's 2,100 calories a day. So this is about a week for my family. And this is on sale at Costco or BJ's anywhere from like $70 to $100 shipped.
Sam's.
Sam's too. Yep. Sam's, BJ's, Costco, they're all about the same.
There's a place called Restaurant Depot. You have to be a business in order to shop there. But I just bought 40 pounds of chicken, legs and thighs for 35 cents a pound.
Oh, no.
So I go there a lot. Last year for my husband's birthday, I bought him 40 pounds of chicken wings and a gallon of wing sauce. And I packaged them up, 16 wings in my food saver, threw them in the freezer, so you have chicken wings whenever you want it. But I buy flats of vegetables and flats of fruit and dehydrate them. The other thing about dehydrating and then using your fruit saver is if you buy frozen vegetables on sale, you get a really good sale, you can dehydrate those and then put them in a bag or put them in one of the canning jars and seal it up that way so that you're not dependent upon your freezer if it goes down. You don't have to blanch that food because it was already blanched in its process when it was processed before. So that's a really good way to take advantage of the sale on frozen fruits or vegetables. And it takes up a lot less space to store them.
The great thing about these is they're a fully contained meal. It's 12 or 1,800 calories. I forget how many are in there, but it's got a little tea mix, a drink mix, and dessert, and an entree, and it even comes with the heater, and the heater is so freaking hot, it's unbelievable. You burn yourself on the heater. So 15 minutes, and this is a really good hot meal, and you don't need any fire, and you don't need any water or anything to cook it. These run anywhere from $60 or $70 to $120 a case shipped. Through my business, I have a company, I can buy a whole pallet of these, 60 cases with heaters for $72 each. So you save 20 to 30 bucks a case. So if we get enough of us, if we can buy 60 of these, 12. So not a bad thing to have a case or two of these on hand. Anywhere from 5, 6, 7, 8 years supposedly is the longevity of these things, kept in a cool, dark place.
One quick thing on those, I survived on those for 5.5 years in the military. Buy yourself some chocolate X-Lax. Everybody jokes that MRE stands for meals rejected by everybody, but it really stands for meals refusing to exit. Because they are designed to stop you up for 3 days at least because typically when you're in the field, you have water quality issues. Diarrhea is a huge problem when you're overseas because you're going to get bad water in your system. So they are designed to stop growth completely. So chocolate X-Lax is going to make your life a lot less painful for that type of stuff. If you're thinking about buying those, I would get them directly from the manufacturer rather than going to an Army Navy store and seeing them. Typically those are good for about 5 years, but it really depends on what temperature they were stored at. So a lot of these guys coming back from the Gulf and stuff may want to decide to make some extra money because, you know, that GI paycheck is so huge. Might want to decide to sell those, but they've been sitting in 120-degree heat, and their 5-year shelf life is down to 5 to 10 weeks now because of that superheating. So just make sure you don't buy those used at some Army Navy shop. The packages don't look like they're brand new and shiny, and I'd be a little leery of them.
Yeah. I don't see a date on this package, but the case was dated, so these are all less than a year old. These are right from the manufacturer. MRE Star is the name of the dealer that I'm set up with. So as we get going, if we want to do a group buy, I mean, you save 20 or 30 bucks a case. To me, that'd be worth it. Those retail for $90 plus $20 shipping. So that's 110 bucks for a case with heaters, and our cost would be 72 bucks, which includes shipping and tax. What I'm going to do here real quick, I just cut open these auction absorbers, so we're going to get moving quickly with the rice. I'm going to do 2 big buckets of rice, and I'm going to show you an alternative to the food saver if you don't have the vacuum sealer. I'm just going to take these and put roughly half of them in a bag. Do this without spilling them everywhere. Pretty close. Take some small absorbers here. They're actually they're more like hand warmers. They absorb oxygen rather than just moisture. And that package you saw, this came with, I think, 10 bags of these little ones and 10 of these for like $10 on Amazon or something. Pretty cheap. When we're done, I'm going to seal these back up with the food saver to keep those sealed.
You need to put those in everything, or just?
It's not in these type of bags. It's a good idea because you can't vacuum. You can't get all the air out of here. Yeah. So you can also, for an extra measure, put them in those vacuum seal bags. I see a lot of people doing that, but I didn't do it with any of those because to me, you can come up and handle these and see how. I mean, there's no air in here. These are tight. So as an added measure, you could certainly throw them in here, but I don't know if it's necessary. So once you put that in there, you're going to just kind of squeeze most of the air out as best you can. And then just use the iron.
Also, if you don't want to risk your iron on this, a cheapo curling iron will take care of that too. So go to Walmart, get the $14 special, and actually I find it's a little bit easier to work with those because it's a clamping mechanism. So you just need to clamp it, pull it across a couple of times, you're good to go.
So put the date on here, my marker. That's 2 pounds of pink beans. 7/1/15. So that should be 25 years right there.
How long do you have before those oxygen absorbers, when they're unsealed like that, how long do you have to work with them before they start?
I already feel these are a little bit warm. So
You gotta be quick.
You got to be quick. It wouldn't leave them out for a long time.
So be strategic and plan out. I got 10 absorbers, let me figure out how I can use 10, so that might be 5-pound quantities or 10 smaller quantities.
And
or
get
whatever.
all the packaging ready to seal.
Yeah, the other thing is, the way I do mine with the bags, instead of sealing the whole top at once, I'll just do 3/4 of it. And I'll squeeze the air out of it, drop the oxygen absorber in it, and do that last little piece. And then, that way you can kind of speed things up, and that way most of the bag is sealed, you don't have to worry about it tipping over and dumping everything out.
Yeah, that's
It's all personal preference to see how much workspace you've got. I've got a very small kitchen, so you gotta have to be organized.
So these buckets are food grade buckets from Kimball's. They were $1 with a lid. Because we're putting this Mylar bag in there, you could use the buckets from Home Depot. I mean, there's no food touching, but these are actually food grade buckets with a decent seal. I've heard that there's restaurants, Jago was telling us there's restaurants that will just give them to you. These you can see what they had in them. This was double rich chocolate ice cream base, and this was red raspberry sauce, so they're a little sticky. I washed all these off. But again, we're putting the bags in here. So these bags were a little bit more from Amazon, same thing. I don't remember exactly what I paid for these, but they come with the bigger oxygen absorbers. These are, I think these are 1,000 cc's. And like you were saying, with these bigger ones, I usually put 2 in here. So these bags of rice, it's 25 pounds of rice for $11 at BJ's. So I think in one of these bags, there's like, look at how many servings it says. 252 servings in one bag. So we've got 750 servings between these 2 buckets, and sealing this up with the oxygen absorbers is basically what you're paying big money from this place. So this is $30 worth of rice, a couple dollars worth of bags and buckets. One of the guys that I saw on YouTube that was talking about this was he had built some kind of an underground bunker storage thing in his backyard, and it had leaked. I mean, it was stuff dripping from the roof and all that. But he pulled these buckets out of there that had been in there for 21 years. And the buckets had mold on them, and they were dirty. You could see the muddy water dripping all over them. And he opened them up and took the lids off, and the rice looked exactly like it does right now coming out of here. Pretty amazing. When they're sealed properly in this, and then they're sealed with that good gamma seal that's on those lids. So we just do that. Throw a couple of these in each one. I usually do what Rick was saying, and if you partially seal this across and leave a couple inches at the end, it's easy to squeeze most of the air out and then seal that last little bit. sure that I can overlap on those two.
Really gotta try the hair curler, much easier.
The clamp kind?
Yeah, the clamp time.
The flat iron or a hair curler?
Flat iron?
It's a flat, the flat one is a flat iron that you can.
I wasn't buying it for me. I got lots of looks and, oh, you're such an excellent boyfriend. I'm like, yeah, you would never find all this crap for. Yeah, whatever
Yeah,
the clamp iron is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. I also took some of this stuff that I had done myself, like this, and put it in these buckets as well. Most of the stuff I have in my basement is just in the bins. And then the last thing, I'm going to seal up these oxygen absorbers.
Eric just brought up a good point here. You could put a few weapons in your ammo in a bag and then bury it.
No, as long as it doesn't puncture the plastic, you can put it anywhere you want it. Yep. You can bag your sea of water if you really want to do that.
So there's 378 servings in each one of these buckets for about $14. And it should be good for 25 years.
You know, one of the things about, at least for me, in terms of food storage, is there's really long-term food storage, and then there's food storage for a year or 2 years. And what I do with that's a little different. Because you don't want to open that up if you need food next year. So think about putting it in number 10 cans or a coffee can or quart jars so that you have various levels of food storage so that you're not digging into this because you ran out of rice or something or whatever you might need. So think about it in terms of 3 months or 6 months or 5 years or 25 years. You want to set this aside for 25 years, but at some point you need to have something set aside for a year or two, because that's kind of how life works. That's kind of how life works.
I think it's probably a good practice to be in, and kind of just like Chad was talking about, you start with getting extra pesticides and rice and things like that. I mean, if you look at everything on the table, everything that was on the table, you've got long, you've got 25-year shelf life stuff that's going to go in a bucket that when you open it, it's like that's the last thing you open.
Right.
And then you've got rice peel-off and sides and stuff that you can open whenever. And then, if you mix it up and you have MREs and you have food saver bags and you have all these different things, I mean, I think that's kind of, important to not just put all your eggs in one basket, and to have stuff that you rotate out, have the longer term storage stuff, and have a good mixture of stuff, because you might have a shit hit the fan, you got fired from your job or something like that, and it's like, those pesticides are going to come in handy.
My husband and I were both laid off together for a year. I have enough food so that I really didn't have to go to the supermarket, because I do this as a way of life.
We've actually had several weeks recently where my wife is like, you know what, because the card just broke or this or that, she's like, I can't go normal grocery shopping. So she goes and she buys eggs and she buys milk and bread, and we just dig into the stuff that's in the basement. So.
And you're not having to open up your 5-gallon bucket, because you have it in different sizes and shapes.
That's about all I had for you.